Howdy, gang, and let me get my Happy Halloween lower third banner up for you. People probably think, why are you telling us it's a lower thirds banner? We don't care nothing about that, Dana. But technically, that's what it's called. But I want to welcome you guys and gals to yet another edition of Terror Time Tea. This is going to be a special Halloween edition of Terror Time Tea. I have Jack back there. He is joining me for this extra special Halloween edition of Terror Time Tea. And you might say, wait, Dana. You're talking about the Hitcher today as well as Trick or Treat from 1986. I didn't put that up there, but it is Trick or Treat from 1986. Starring Mark Price, who was also Skippy on Family Ties. But no, the Hitcher is not a Halloween film per se. Okay. But it is a horror film. I did just get it in on 4K and I thought it warranted revisiting. So I'm going to be starting off this edition of Terror Time Tea with the Hitcher. And then we're going to move into Trick or Treat from 1986. No, I don't have my 4K in yet. Not sure when that will come in. Steve got me a copy from Diabolic DVD. And I'm going to be talking about technically the DVD version. And I have my tea today. Once again, it is Sinus Soother Celestial Seasonings tea because I've been having some trouble with my sinuses. And I thought, well, we want to make sure we have tea for Terror Time Tea. And also, I'd like to have something that maybe is going to help my sinuses out. So, want to remind everybody that tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, I will be doing a watch along for 1986 Trick or Treat. So you're getting a double dose of it today. For those of you that watch this Terror Time Tea recording, you will hear me talk about it. And then if you feel so compelled, you can tune in at 8 p.m. Eastern Time tonight on Deadites on Deck. And we'll be doing a full-blown watch-along. Not sure if I'm going to have any guest with me tonight. Hopefully I will. But if not, it'll just be me, folks. Steve won't be able to because, he's thinking about work tomorrow. Something I wanted to show you, guys and gals that watch this on the replay. I should have brought that in here. I've been trying to, talk about the Deadites on Deck horror shop at deaditesondeck.com a little bit more to kind of drum up some interest and some business for me. Because this is a labor of love, but it's also a business venture to hopefully help me, pick up a little extra money to pay the bills and stuff like that. So I just wanted to show you guys and gals a new candle scent that will soon be making its way to the shop. This is Rosemary's Baby Fresh. And this is going to smell like baby powder, folks. So for those of you that like baby powder, maybe this might be something that you want to invest in. So hopefully you guys and gals can see that. So that's what the container is going to look like for Rosemary's Baby Fresh. And before we get into the movies, as my lower thirds banner says, Happy Halloween, like and subscribe. So if you feel compelled to like and subscribe, or subscribe, please do. It's free to do so, doesn't cost you a penny. And, if you never watch another one of my videos again, that's fine. But also, if you have family and friends that you think might like the content that I am putting out, please share my channel with your friends and family. Um, that is the Deadites on Deck channel. It also is under Evil Dead Chick 1976. If you do a search on YouTube and you put the @ Evil Dead Chick 1976, you should be able to bring up the Deadites on Deck channel. You might bring up some other stuff too, but Deadites on Deck is my channel. And it's also the name of my shop at deaditesondeck.com. Okay. So, before we get into the movies, I do want to tell you about the upcoming week. I did pretty much take last week off, with the exception of these watch alongs and Friday Foolish that me and Candace did on Friday. And it was a lot of fun. It was a Halloween special where we talked about all things Halloween related. Um, we shared memories. We talked about, you know, trick or treating, favorite candy types, favorite costumes, what would be our ultimate costume, and money was no object. But be sure to check that out on the replay if you, one, didn't get to watch it live or have not yet got to watch it on the replay. All right, folks, before my tea gets cold, be sure to tune in for lots of Halloween programming this coming week, though, in honor of the upcoming Halloween holiday. But like I said, before my tea gets too cold for it to do me any good, let's get to these movies, shall we? So the first one is The Hitcher, um, starring Rutger Hauer and C. Thomas Howell. This is another one that I remember from my video rental days, folks. And this is one that, frankly, scared the pants off me when I was a kid. Well, not literally, but it scared me. It creeped me out. Rutger Hauer is absolutely fantastic in this movie. Jennifer Jason Leigh's also in it in a small role. Um, This is directed by Robert Harmon. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what else Robert Harmon did, but in my opinion, he knocked it out of the ballpark with The Hitcher. Now, everybody knows the horror stories on both sides of hitchhiking. You get told don't hitchhike, don't let some complete stranger stop and pick you up. That's always bad. But the hitcher takes it and flips it on its ear and turns the tables on the person actually picking up the hitchhiker. The hitchhiker is Rutger Hauer's character, and he's crazy. I mean, and it doesn't take you long to figure out how crazy his character is. So, C. Thomas Howell, I've never heard of this before except in this movie, but maybe some of you out there that are watching this Terror Time Tea will know what this is back from the mid 80s. So, C. Thomas Howell, if this is indeed a real thing, is taking what's called a drive-away car across country. I think he's taking it to California. And I guess he will get paid whenever he drops his car off. Okay. So he's driving along and he's trying to stay awake, and it's really late at night or real early morning. And he sees this Volkswagen Bug go around him going really fast. And then later on, he sees that same car very oddly parked on the side of the road. And he thinks, it's weird, but I've got places to go and people to see and all that. I don't have time to stop and see, if somebody's ill or whatever. So, a little bit farther up the road, Rutger Hauer's character is standing there, trying to hitch a ride. And, see Thomas Howell's being a nice guy, and he lets him get in, and it's been raining, and there's rain dripping off of Rutger Hauer and all that. And he really doesn't say anything. And if he does say anything, see Thomas Howell's character is trying to make conversation with him. The Jim Halsey character, he's trying to make normal conversation, but Rutger Hauer's character of John, I believe, he's acting very strange, and they okay, so he hadn't seen the Volkswagen Bug again. I was a little bit confused. They're driving along, and he's like, "Hey, I saw that car earlier." And Rutger Hauer's character, the John character, just causes him to slam on, like he presses his leg down, makes him go real fast by it. And he's like, "Why'd you do that?" And John doesn't really give him an answer, right? And so he's thinking, Jim's thinking, this guy's a little off. And he won't really tell Jim where he wants to go. John doesn't really tell him. He's, just takes his time and stuff. And then all of a sudden, they get to, talking back and forth, and John proceeds to tell him why he didn't want Jim to, take much notice of that Volkswagen Bug. And that was because John had killed the person that picked him up before Jim did. And he said, I cut off his head, and I cut off his arms, and I cut off his legs, and I'm going to do the same thing to you. And he's just very matter of fact about the whole thing. Jim's getting terrified by now because by this time, John has pulled out a knife. He's holding it to his throat. They come across some road construction. And John takes the knife away from Jim's throat and puts it close to his balls. And, he says, don't tell these guys anything. Just be casual and all that stuff, or I'm going to kill you right here. So Jim tries to remain calm. And then all the while, the guy that's doing road construction happens to glance down and notice John's hand almost, cupping Jim's balls, and he thinks, okay, these guys are homosexual. And he says, all right, sweethearts, go on. Um, so, um, so Jim figures out a way to push John out of the car, and he thinks, it's over. But so begins a very long and torturous cat and mouse game for the rest of the film, where John basically has it in for Jim. You do not throw John Ryder out of a moving car, and expect him to let bygones be bygones. He is going to come after your ass, um, and kill those around you, and set you up to be the fall guy for all these murders. And there is one particularly creepy scene where John gets another ride with a family with two kids. And this car passes Jim, and he sees the kids in the back, and he's waving at them, and they got toy guns like they're playing. They got teddy bears and stuff. And then all of a sudden, John rises up and he's with the kids and he's kissing the little girl, and Jim like freaks out. He pulls up beside the car and he's trying to tell the parents, this guy is a killer. Get rid of him. Pull over. Do something. And they don't listen to him. And then later, Jim sees the car and there's blood everywhere. You don't, thankfully, you don't see what has happened to this family really, but you don't need to. Your mind can imagine far worse things than they probably could have shown with special effects. The the fact of the matter is that John Ryder has killed this family, and he is essentially keeps setting Jim up to take the fall for all these murders. So very tense film. And I hadn't seen it in years, and I was almost afraid. You know how you haven't really seen something in years, and you're afraid that perhaps it won't hold up. And that's how I was about the Hitcher. I was like, what if it doesn't? What if it doesn't hold up? And I've already bought this 4K and stuff like that. But it did. It did continue to hold up. It really is a film that sticks with you far after the film is over, especially if this is the first time you're watching it, right? And I don't want to give it all away because there are probably still people that even in 2024 have not seen The Hitcher, have not experienced The Hitcher. Um, this is a really, really great film that remains subtle for as long as it needs to be subtle. And then it really kicks into high gear. But, morbidly so, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed rewatching this once again. The 4K, by the way, if you're thinking about getting the 4K is not perfect. I was a little disappointed in the quality. Oh, I'm going to sneeze, folks. Excuse me. My sinuses are indeed acting up. So, um, this supposedly was overlooked during its theatrical release. Excuse me, folks. Maybe that'll make my head feel better because my head was feeling kind of stopped up and all that. But I did not see it. Like I said, this was in my video rental days when I just first discovered The Hitcher. So it was initially overlooked at the time of the theatrical release, but since then, it has gained, a cult following among people that like these types of films. They say it's been meticulously remastered, but maybe it's just the negative that they were working from. um, I wasn't completely disappointed, just slightly disappointed in the quality of The Hitcher on 4K. It was remastered under the supervision of the director Robert Harmon. um, and the 4K scan is from the original camera negative. Not a whole lot in the way of special features. We do get archival commentary with director Robert Harmon and writer Eric Red, and you get Bullseye, an interview with director Robert Harmon, and a theatrical trailer, but that's about it. But The Hitcher as a movie, this one once again knocked it out of the ballpark for me. Um, and I am going to give it uh, I'm going to give it 5 deadites out of 5 because I really, really think that this one is, like I said, it knocks it out of the ballpark. So let me put my Happy Halloween like and subscribe on there for a little while longer. Oh, man. Okay, folks, I'm going to have to go away for just a second, but you guys and gals won't even notice it because I'm just going to pause the recording and I will be right back. Okay, so I am back, and now we're going to talk about 1986's Trick or Treat. Now, if you have not seen this one, you may not understand, all our genre love for this film. But this is like a two-part love. If you are into heavy metal, or you have ever been into heavy metal music, if you like Kiss, because you'll see Gene Simmons in this, if you like Ozzy Osbourne is also in this. Um, if you like that hard-hitting heavy metal music, you're going to love this. The soundtrack is by a band called Fastway, who fills in for the for Sammy Kerr and his band. All the songs pretty much are done by Fastway in this movie. Gene Simmons plays the local DJ Nuke, and Ozzy Osbourne plays a priest in this who is, funnily enough, against rock and roll music, or the heavy metal variety. He is Father Gilstrom, I think, uh, in this. Now, this is a Platinum Disc Corporation. This version is a version I got a long, long time ago. I believe it was out of the $5 bin at Walmart. And I just picked it up, not because I thought the quality was going to be fantastic, but because I did not, at that point in time, have a physical copy of Trick or Treat. And I was like, why not? It's $5. So, who else is in this? Of course, Mark Price, again, who I said also played Skippy in Family Ties, but this is not a Skippy character. Mark Price plays Eddie Weinbauer, a teenager who is, into heavy metal. He's kind of a loner. He has a good friend. That they hang out and they listen to heavy metal records and stuff like that. Also, Eddie is a little obsessed with a local, I guess you couldn't call him a hometown boy makes good, because he's from Eddie's hometown, and this is Sammy Kerr. But he was kind of, put down and ridiculed like Eddie is, and bullied and stuff like that. And he made it out of the town, and made it big in the rock industry. This film is also directed by Charles Martin Smith, um, and so Eddie is put upon by the school bullies. They pick on him because he's a metalhead, and because he, doesn't dress like them. He's not all snooty and stuff like they are. Not high society, but he is hopelessly in love with Leslie, who's somebody that starts out in their gang and then comes to really like Eddie, and before the end of the film is apparently in love with Eddie. Um, but Leslie is the beautiful, hometown, essentially the good girl, who sometimes hangs around with the bad crowd. So, anyway, so Eddie is really, I don't know what that noise is. I think it might be Steve in there. So Eddie is really into Sammy Kerr and Sammy Kerr's music. And Sammy Kerr has been dabbling in some stuff he probably shouldn't be dabbling into. Stuff to do with, Satan worship and demons and stuff like this. Well, Sammy Kerr gets into a spot of trouble, and him and his bandmates are victims of a hotel fire. They get burned up. And when Eddie finds out about this, he loses it completely and tears all his rock posters down, all except Sammy Kerr's. He cannot tear Sammy Kerr's down. And he goes to visit his buddy Nuke at the radio station, and Nuke tries to tell him, he left us some good songs, he spoke to us, and he's like, he still does. And Nuke's like, Eddie, you didn't know this guy like I do. He was not a hero or anything. He was angry. He was always angry. And he did this to himself. What happened to him was because he began to believe his own hype. And again, Eddie's having none of it. This was his rock hero. That Sammy Kerr to him was what he called a rock warrior. And Sammy Kerr was really the only thing that Eddie had to hold on to. And even his friend Roger does not support Eddie. When Eddie gets the last Sammy Kerr album from Nuke and he takes it home and he starts playing it, he wakes up and there's backwards talking on it. And he wakes up and he hears this. He's like, what is this? So he starts playing the record backwards, and the record, on the record, Sammy Kerr seems to be talking to him and telling him how he can beat the bullies. And, Eddie's like, he's sick of the bullies always picking on him at school. And he's already said he's going to nail them. He doesn't know when, he doesn't know how, but he's going to nail them. And so the demonic spirit of Sammy Kerr taps into that and tells Eddie everything that he wants to hear. Hey, Eddie, I'm here. I'm going to show you how to nail those guys. And Eddie really doesn't know what he's in for at that point. He does what the record, what Sammy Kerr's voice on the record tells him to do. And he gets, he one-ups these guys for the first time ever. Of course, when he tells Roger about it, all Roger has to say is, your cage is starting to shake. It's starting to come loose, Eddie. And I'm around if you need to talk. And then, he just leaves. So Eddie begins to listen to the backwards messages on the record more and more. He keeps getting more messages. And the next message is something about 6-6 crush. Let the big fish hook themselves. And it says metal machines, 6-6 crush. So when he goes back to school, I guess machine shop or metal shop or whatever you want to call it is in room 66 at the school. He goes in there, he takes his lunch in there. The boys come in there because based on the last fiasco that Eddie put them through, they got on janitorial duty. And the head guy is none too happy. And he's like throwing tools at Eddie. He throws Eddie over in the desk he's sitting in, and he's about ready to do some major damage to Eddie. And all of a sudden, one of the machines comes on, and the guy's tie gets wrapped up in it, and this very sharp metal thing almost goes into his head, and he's screaming, "Turn it off, Weinbauer, turn it off." And Eddie slowly goes up there and then turns it off. There are several other things that happen on up until Eddie starts to become frightened by what the voice on the record is telling him, because um, when the main bully, his girlfriend, ends up in the hospital, Eddie's like, no, this is out of the realm of just, getting a one up on them. So that this guy's girlfriend didn't really have anything to do with the bullying and all that. And he tells the voice on the record, I think we should end it. I don't want to do this anymore. Sammy Kerr does not want to lie down and play dead. So he ends up coming out of Eddie's speakers, and basically from here on out in the movie, anytime somebody has a radio or television or anything like that on, then Sammy Kerr can come through that, I guess, electrical current, and he can, make himself, you know, visible wherever somebody might be, and can cause major, major damage. So by the end of the movie, there's a school Halloween dance, and Eddie's been uh, grounded. So, because of some things that he's done, he tore up all his stereo equipment and stuff. But his mom tells him she's going out to a Halloween party with her boyfriend, but they'll start with a new slate tomorrow. And he's just to stay home and hand out Halloween candy to the trick or treaters. So anything is all as well until Leslie calls him from the school, and they're talking, and he can, all of a sudden, he hears Sammy Kerr's music, and he's like, what is that? Because he thought this tape that he'd sent Roger to destroy, that Roger had destroyed. But meanwhile, Sammy Kerr came to Roger's house and is demanding to play my tape for me, or I'll kill you. So Roger really has no choice. So Eddie has to hurry up and get to the high school and do battle with the demonic Sammy Kerr, to save, his classmates, right? So I'm not going to give it all away because, like I said with the Hitcher, there still may be some people that have not seen Trick or Treat. Okay. Um, and I debated whether to bring this topic up before I got on here, but I think it warrants it. Now, I'm not saying that people should go out and do terrible things to bullies who do things to them. No, I am not. I am not advocating that you equate violence with more violence. All I'm going to say about this is, especially during the time that this film was released, it probably gave kids that were picked on and or bullied a sense of strength. And not in the Sammy Kerr character, but with Eddie Weinbauer. I mean, in a similar vein, like with Carrie. Carrie was picked on. A lot of people today would say she was bullied. So people might disagree with me on this, and that is okay. But I feel like, for the most part, films like Trick or Treat, films like Carrie, and others, where someone who's being put upon, who's being abused in some way, who's being bullied, who's being picked on, is able to rise up above that in whatever fashion. If it's a horror film, the violence quotient is going to be up, as opposed to a drama film, possibly, or a comedy film. Okay, those films may make a lighter stance, right? And somebody will still get their revenge, but it will be on a lighter note, okay? But because we're dealing with horror films here, we're dealing with a horror film with Trick or Treat. We're dealing with a horror film with Carrie. So when Eddie is able to get his revenge on the people that have bullied and picked on him, um, we as watchers of the film, especially people that feel like they're in the same position as Eddie, it gives them a strength. And it doesn't give them the strength to go out and do terrible things to these people. What it does, I feel like, is gives them the strength to deal with their situation and to be able to cope with it and possibly be able to help other people in the same position later on. And some people might say, "Ah, dang, you're full of crap." Feeding us this mumbo jumbo about these horror movies will help, those that are being put upon in some way. But I really believe it would. I was picked on as a kid, um, maybe even bullied as a kid. Um, I've been bullied in my adult life. I mean, I ain't gonna lie. Some of us are continue to be bullied, or maybe bullied is too strong a word. We are being made to feel, as I've heard from some of my friends, less than. We're made to feel like we are less than equal to other people. Okay, and a lot of people could fit in this mold. And I'm not going to mention names, and I'm not going to, say to people, "Oh, yeah, you should say, I'm a victim of this." No, I'm not going to tell anybody that. And I'm not using Terror Time Tea tonight or this afternoon to have a public service announcement about bullying and made to feel less than. Okay. All I'm saying is that if these movies give you the strength to move on from things that have been plaguing you, that have been weighing you down emotionally, then by all means enjoy them for what they are. A little, time waster, a little space, 90 minutes or so, that you can take your mind off of all the things that are bothering you, right? And this could be anything. And just enjoy the movie for what it is. Again, I'm not telling people, go out and wreak violence on someone just because they haven't been nice to you, or they have made you feel less than, or anything like that. I am not telling anyone that. But I hope that movies like this will give you some kind of inner strength to hopefully see that you don't have to resort to violence in order to deal with being picked on, being bullied, being made to feel less than, right? Because the stuff in these movies is all fantasy, right? And if something is more dangerous than simply somebody just calling you names, making fun, stuff like that, if you are being threatened personally, there's bodily harm that's going to happen to you, okay, then that entails law enforcement, right? But if it's anything less than that, then put in one of these movies, put in Trick or Treat, put in Carrie, heck, have a double bill with both of them. Trick or Treat is just a fun little slice of mid 80s horror and rock, right? Horror and rock music. And I think if something is bothering you and you watch this and you allow yourself to be immersed in it purely as entertainment, I think you'll be feeling better in no time. And for all of these reasons, I've also got to give Trick or Treat 5 deadites out of 5. Both of these movies, fantastic films to spend the night with, right? So, I've been on here for about 42 minutes. Um, I hope that you have enjoyed listening to me talk about both the Hitcher and the Trick or Treat, which came out around the same time, 85, 86 for both of these. And, oh, goodness. And I really, really hope you have enjoyed this special Halloween edition of Terror Time Tea. I hope that many of you will be able to join me for the watch along for Trick or Treat, the same movie I just talked about. Tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, there will be a watch along. I will be discussing all things Trick or Treat related. And I guess that's all for me. I'm off like a dirty shirt. This shirt ain't dirty, but I'm off like one. And before I get off of here for the afternoon or evening, I would like to remind everybody, as I always do, number one, have a happy Halloween if you don't watch any of my stuff in the upcoming week. And I also want to remind everybody to be kind to one another and blaze that trail. Have a fantastic rest of your Sunday, folks. And if you feel so compelled, please like and subscribe. If you feel extra compelled, please join the channel. You can join for as little as $5 a month. And also, if you feel so compelled, please visit my horror shop at deaditesondeck.com for horror-related t-shirts, candles, blended teas, and much, much more coming soon to the shop. And I'm out of here, folks, but I will see everybody next time.